All right, we're live.
All right, thank you, everyone. It is 5:30 PM on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. And I now call to order the City of College Place City Council Workshop. Sherry, will you please take roll call?
Mayor Hernandez,
Present?
Councilmember Jessup,
Present.
Councilmember Cleveland,
Present.
Councilmember Espinoza, Councilmember Peterson,
Present.
Councilmember Sherman,
Present.
and Councilmember Boyle. Present. And Councilmember Williams has asked to be excused, and we do have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, it's time for public comment. Sherry, did anyone submit a written comment in advance or request to speak via telephone or virtually?
I did not receive any comments or requests.
Okay, thank you. If anyone who is in person in council chambers would like to speak, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we're going to move on to workshop topics. So the first one, well, we have 5 topics on tonight's agenda, and the first one is a very cool one. Something that's very fun, but it's something also to recognize the importance of the achievements of youth in our community. And I'd like to welcome Brian Hansen up to the podium. He's going to share a few words regarding Anderson Perry Student Scholarship.
How about now? Thank you, Mayor Hernandez. This is a really fun night for me. We at Anderson Perry really appreciate the opportunity to work in the community that we live in. But we also really value the ability to give back to the community. And this year, we have a Scholastic Achievement Scholarship that we would like to provide to senior at College Place High School. And every year Anderson Perry gives out about 10 of these scholarships. Over our scholarship program, we've, I think, just crossed the $150,000 mark. So it's important to us to provide for the next generation. And this year's recipient for College Place, Chloe Spillage, is here with her family. And just a little bit about Chloe. She is a fantastic student at College Place High School. In her application for the scholarship, she let us know that she has a 3.913 GPA, and she plans on attending the University of Washington Aerospace Engineering program. So we're, like I said, this is just, it's a great opportunity for me to come stand in front of you all and just really provide this opportunity for Chloe and acknowledge her great scholastic achievement. So Mayor Hernandez, would you like to come up and present the certificate and we can take some pictures? Awesome. Come on up, Chloe.
There's Chloe, right, there's funny things, you know what, let's just, yeah, they have different backgrounds, you'll get all the faces, now that I think about it. We'll take it back here, how about back here, and then we can get mom and dad in the picture too, is that okay? Okay. We'll speed it over here.
One picture and then we'll get mom and dad.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Okay. Congratulations. All right, let's get mom and dad in the
Yeah,
picture.
it's in there next to your dog.
There we go.
Okay, is that me? Oh,
3, 2, 1. Okay.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no doubt. Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you all.
I am very proud. That's sorry.
They work so hard. Okay, so next I'm gonna go to, oh, state of the city. I forgot I was doing that. Okay, so next we've got state of the city. I did ask Mike to let's start making it much shorter than in previous years. So let me pull that up real quick. Sorry. Yeah,
We're sure.
it used to. If you can do it, if that's okay, or is it hard for you? Okay. All right. Okay, so, yeah, state of the city, okay, like I said, it's gonna be much shorter than in the previous years. Previously, for those of you that weren't, it was like 45 minutes long or something like that, or at least it was supposed to be, and I couldn't make it that long. So, it's gonna be much shorter. We're just gonna give a quick update for those, for us to celebrate achievements that we made and, our plans for the future. So first, we're going to start off with the 2017 to 2026 strategic plan that we've been working on. So we continue on 5 themes for our city: resource development, cooperation and connection, infrastructure investment, planning for prosperity, and optimal operations. If you all recall, it is reviewed every 2 years between April and July prior to the start of our budget season to ensure that we're still on task. And we will be starting another review cycle of the strategic plan this year to make sure first of all, see what we've achieved, and then to make sure that we're continuing on the right direction as appropriate for our city today, as opposed to the last one, I think, was 2017. Is that what it was?
Correct.
Okay, so we did also adopt the fiscal year 2024 budget, which revenues and expenses come out up to just under $67 million. As you can see there on our pie chart and the notes, our current expense fund is 14.3%. And then it gets much smaller from there, aside from our capital projects funds, which is a huge investment for us because that's what was really lacking in the past at 33%. And then we jump way up to enterprise funds at 49%. Our favorite diagram here, our little picture of the breakdown, how each dollar is spent for property taxes here in the city, as well as throughout our community. And as always, the schools funds continues to be the higher part of our property taxes. But as we celebrated just a little while ago, the achievements of one of our youth, it shows how investments like this really matter for our kids. So overall, for the city of College Place, only 2.72 cents of every dollar goes to the city. So it's a very, very small portion of the pie. The rest goes in investments, like I said, to our youth and to the safety of our community. In 2023, there's some achievements that we did, the pictures. I love these pictures, but we can go on to the next page, please. So resource development. So in order to encourage community development here and for businesses and for people to come make College Place their home, we do offer some incentives. The multifamily housing tax incentive. We created the creation of Stone Creek Downtown Tax Increment Finance, or TIF district. Our partnership with Common Common Roots Land Trust, 1% of the arts account that we allocated, and the Koala Creative District work that just recently got approved by the state. And while that just got approved by the state, behind the scenes, everybody's been working already on making plans for how Koala is going to be working and how it's going to start benefiting the whole region and College Place as a whole. So we're excited to see where that goes. Business development, our Goodwill Employment Connection Center, the Soda Stop, which celebrated their 1-year anniversary recently, Chipotle, Burger King, and Best Med. Which Best Med brought something different to the community that we hadn't had in the past. So that's a great addition also to our community. Housing development is the Vesper on 8th and College, which I saw now leasing signs out front this week. So that's really exciting. I'm wondering if people have leased it yet, but it's exciting. And then we've seen the initial grading for villages at Fort Walla Walla happen right before winter. Then there's the number of grants that we received. I'm not going to go through all of them. But as you can see, it's a significant number of funds towards our capital development and our investments into our infrastructure. Again, I must recognize Mike and the staff's work for this. It is only because of them that we even have these grants, and it is only because of these grants that we've been able to beautify and improve and make College Place a safer and more welcoming place to live. So again, Mike, thank you for that.
Thanks.
Our 2023 Cooperation and Connection theme, our community events, so the block party is back. We had that on College Avenue a few weeks back ago, and I've heard nothing but great feedback on that. People just totally enjoyed themselves. And, you know, people said it actually felt like community. It didn't feel like a bunch of strangers in one place. They said it actually felt fun community. So I thought that was uplifting. Spring Fling at Kiwanis Park, which also was quite a success. And we welcome them here in College Place. So our farmers market, which started last week, and it's going to continue through the season over at Kiwanis Park. If you guys didn't make it last week, you need to make it this week and have some fun. We'll be doing movies at the park. Those continue. The Korean War Memorial dedication, which was something very unique to our city, not having done something like that here before. And this was led by the efforts of College Place residents who a husband and wife team who really put years of work into this and planning it and fundraising for it, and then reached out to the city to finalize how we can get this here in College Place. They really wanted to do it, and the staff were quick to figure out how to get, where to get it, where to put it. It was only appropriate to go to our Veterans Park. And it is, here you see a picture of the dedication. So it's a great thing to pass by and to always think of when you, in that community over at Homestead. We have our Arbor Day, where I always have fun getting to plant a tree with students from Davis Elementary over at Kiwanis Park. We have our Freedom Festival, which will be coming up soon. Our Fall Festival and Light Up the Avenue. The Fall Festival and Light Up the Avenue has been growing every year. And I see that every time there's more people, there's more participants, and there's just an electricity in the air. So that too is because of the staff. So we must also acknowledge the staff that come together and make these events really fun and make it exciting for people to come into our community and spend some time here. We have a few citizen advisory commissions, which we continue to fill roles for, and those contributions are significant to the decisions that we make here as a council. Then we have our programmatic enhancements, and you can see all of those there. They go from the Bike Committee to Walla Walla University's tool library to Enactus, which does some great work here in the community and is part of Walla Walla University. And then we have the YMCA Summer Youth Recreation Program, which provides, I think they said 40 some children, affordable camp to do during the summer, where they not only get, where they can come and be safely watched, but they are fed and they're entertained and they're taken on field trips, which is it's a great asset to our community. It allows our parents to be able to go to work and not have to worry about where their children are and if they're being kept off the television and more active. So we have our communications. We have our city's YouTube channel where our staff posts different updates, 1-minute projects. Of course, our meetings are always up there. And then we have the city partnership newsletter mailing where that comes with our utility bills. And we share updates of what's going on in the community, as well as we welcome community, those who have activities in our community to come and put something in that newsletter to help inform. And then as you can see here, the number of partnerships that we continue to have. Moving on to our infrastructure investment. See that little type? That means that's a lot of stuff. So I'm just gonna get the highlights. We have the general government. We have our parks, our storm system, which includes Lions Park, our street repairs, our wastewater treatments, and our water treatments for our clean water. A lot of projects going on. Public Works is always busy. And I love the goat picture, by the way.
Yeah.
And then next, we're planning for prosperity. We continue to have strong development. We approved our pre-approved housing plans and trying to address the missing middle housing for our workforce housing here in College Place. We have a 6-year investment plan. We are participating actively in the countywide planning policy, and that'll help us streamline and avoid some of the tensions that happened in our past when we were trying to decide the urban growth area and how communities are going to grow. We had our pavement rating study. We had a hotel market study. We have our legislative advocacy for both state and federal, which has been quite active and quite successful and beneficial for the city. And then we have marketing to developers via ICSC and other mediums. Mike is active in that. Takes his trips out and makes sure he's handing out those flash drives, promoting College Place, letting people know what important we are and what a great community and benefit to their business we would be. All right, optimal operations. Our general government, again, those are very small, but we've done things in our general government, including this Marge Nyhagen Council Chambers, which we were able to dedicate with Marge Nyhagen here, a longtime city council member and who was an active participant in actually getting City Hall built in the first place. We have our fire department, which is both volunteer and staff, and that's grown significantly. We've replaced a number of tools and instruments for them. We also replaced our ambulance. Our police department, we are now a part of a countywide drug task force, and I'm not sure if you always read in the paper, but they are also quite active and quite successful. Growing our school resource officer program, which we were able to begin again this year with a new school resource officer. And then our future facility study in hopes that we'll be able to get our police department out of the buildings they are now and get them into an actual maybe earthquake proof. I know we don't have a lot of earthquake here, but still a nice building. And then we have our public works, which is constantly busy. So we have an additional facility maintenance and capital project manager position. So we're not just maintaining, but we're growing in our public works department, including utility worker positions. They're staying up in the backflow. So in 2024, we, and that picture there, we were all kicking off Lions Park renovation there, moving on to resource development. There's all those incentives. Again, we have the enaction of the Koala Creative District and industrial property tax programs. So trying to promote some industrial businesses here to College Place and invite them. And then we have our business development. As you could see here, we have another fast food tenant adjacent to Chipotle. I believe it was
Jersey Mike's.
Coming in. Again, new to our area completely. We have 2 hotel developments in discussions, a potential grocer coming in, big box development, and Martin Airfield renovations. Our housing developments, you can see there's a number of them there. So that's going to add to our number of units available to community, to residents to come and not just stay in College Place, but for new ones to move into College Place. And then all those grants that our staff and Mike has successfully been able to get from both federal and state. Moving to the cooperation and connection. Again, there's our community events. We were talking about continuing to grow our block party. Maybe from one day it'll be the route of our parade or something, right? From corner to corner with booths. Spring flings, the market, movies at the park. So it's the same ones that we were talking about earlier, but we continue to do those. And then we have our citizen advisory commissions, and then we have our programmatic enhancements. We're quite excited about getting to phase 2 of Lions Park and maybe getting our community center. And we're looking at a card share program, that's right. And free Wi-Fi at the parks is what we also have now. So it's just programs for our community to make it a place that not just welcomes them, but is a good place for them to be able to live and raise families in and bring business to. Communications, we're active on social media and our newsletters, and then there's our partnership still. Moving on to infrastructure investments. Again, there we do general government, so there's a few there, including the City Hall addition that we're looking, and the police department that we're doing an assessment on those needs. Our parks, our storms, which include the Lions Park Pond, and then our streets. There's all the streets that we've been repairing or adding enhancements to. Moving to next page. Infrastructure investment, our wastewater treatment plant, which has been going on before I think I even joined the city council. That's already been so, but it's moving quickly now. It kind of seems to be, right? And so things are getting done. Our water, we're going to be doing a retrofit of our water tower number 1. And then we're doing engineering for the reservoir as well as drinking water well number 7. If you'll remember, we were down to 1.5 water wells back in 2019, and now we're working on well number 7. Planning for prosperity. So looking for our future. We're looking again at development. We have 6-year investment plans. Our planning, which includes our countywide planning policies and our UGAs to make sure we're able to get things done and not spend time in red tape. Our park plan, and then we're moving on to our legislative advocacy that I spoke of earlier. There's a picture of Mike and I. We are over. That's Murray's office,
Yeah.
right? If I'm correct, that's.
Yep.
I recognize the furniture now. So we made 2 trips to Washington, D.C., and both have been very successful, and we've been welcomed by our legislators and their staff. And then moving on to optimal operations. General government includes our sales tax sharing agreement that we are in discussions with the city of Walla Walla. We're trying to figure out how to get recycling going. We're talking about renovations here of the city hall. We're talking about, we've done our community grant program, which has been very beneficial for a lot of agencies around our community here that benefit families in our community. Our fire department continues to grow. We continue to do our wildland fire assistance in the summer. Police department, as I mentioned, our drug task force and our school resource officer, and then our public works, continuing to do our wastewater operations and future facility studies. Now, for major challenges, they're not a small print, so that's a positive thing. That means there's less of them than our successes and our plans. So we continue to deal with housing availability and affordability. That's going to continue an issue. We're trying to find solutions on our part where we can do, but of course there's a national issue more of workforce and materials, the cost of goods. And then we still deal with unfunded mandates from the state that sometimes hit us without warning. Inflation is continuing to be an issue for our nation, and it's getting more and more difficult for some of our families to even afford to do what they have done of the basics. And so they're now looking for ways to have to cut back and make sure that they're financially secure. We also still have our tight urban growth areas. So everything that all those plans that we're making are still squeezed into this little city that we have, but we're making the best of it. Availability of contractors to bid on projects, as you can see. And then our fire department continues to have a high call volume. Storm systems, if you all recall, that's been deferred for decades. And now we're trying to repair or fix and address all the issues that have been building up before they get to a point where it's repairs are going to have to be made, but they could also cause inconveniences to the community. So we don't want to get there. So we're trying to keep ahead of those. Our wastewater system, which is very expensive, and our clean water systems. So we need storage to keep up the population. So we've been planning on how to continue where to put that storage of water to make sure that we have appropriate water storage for development, rather than trying to catch up after it's done, making sure that it's there before any new development is happening, especially as we look towards the west, over at Martin Airfield, and then over down by Majania, and as that continues to go that way. All right, whew, made it to the end. So College Place has been on the map since 1946. That's exciting. All right, thank you all. I appreciate you following along with me there. Let me get this other. Are there any questions or comments from any members of the council? Councilmember Jessup.
It seems like a good time to pass along some kudos to staff and all you guys as someone of decent prominence from Walla Walla. I was at a celebration last night, and I think, quote, he said, "Man, you guys are really killing it over there at College Place." And so just passing along that kudos to you all for all that you do and so on and so forth. It's obviously, I felt a little hint of little green eyes in there, a little bit of, man, you guys are really killing it over there, so good job.
Any other questions, comments? I too received a text message today, actually letting me, someone watched a presentation that Mike made on College Place, and their comment was that College Place was the excitement of the event, because I guess others were there sharing economic development, and they said that College Place is hopping, and so they thought it was very cool, and they wanted to congratulate us on that.
I
So-
was there for that presentation and I can echo that sentiment because it's true. All of the really fun, exciting pieces came from Mike, and it was pretty cool to see.
Wonderful. See, and that's good. That's exciting, right? Especially as a community that we've put so much of our time in and so much of our forethought, even council members prior to us, those of us who have been here not as long as some of, three council members, right? That you've been here much longer than any of us. And I'm sure your forethought 8 years ago is now coming to fruition. And so because of that, we're able to celebrate these successes and be proud of our city. Okay. What's that?
I think she just called you old.
Oh, no, I did. She's been here long. She was very young and successful. All right. So if there's nothing else, thank you all for listening. I appreciate your attention. And we're going to move on to Mr. Rizzatello is going to present on the Koala Creative District certification, which I mentioned in the State of the City.
Thank you. So it is official. We did get the notice. We're the first dual municipal district now in the state. So they've established a checklist for various things that happen within the next 30 days and the next 12 months. So now there's a steering committee being established with about roughly 12 folks so far. Chloe Congleton from Enable Ireland, she's on our Economic Development Commission. She'll be one representatives. I'll be as well, but if someone from council wants to be, that would be advisable. So anyone that's interested, please let me know, because we're going to be standing up that joint task force soon here to get this on the road, because we're supposed to get an allocation from what I was told about 100,000 initially in grant dollars from the state. So it'd be like split down the middle between both cities for art related things through Art Walla. So
That's
Oh, okay.
that's really cool.
okay, Michael. Yeah, because that task force is gonna start to meet next week, and then they're gonna be meeting quite a bit to get through that whole checklist. So yeah.
Well, it's very cool because again, I think we need to recognize that we're the first in the state to be able to achieve this type of the recognition of communities working together for the betterment of a region, and not just thinking of themselves, so that the experience of our arts and our artist, in whichever form that is, that it's beneficial all around, and it's very inclusive, and I love that. Any questions or comments from council members?
Oh.
Councilmember Peterson.
So the slate's kind of clear. What are your thoughts, Michael?
Well, I mean, where this will head is at the state level, they're throwing allocations of sales tax that the state creates into this, where there's a proportionment, and they're even getting their own capital account out of earmarks next biennium. So I think there's a significant potential for a windfall of dollars, because with how exhaustive this process is, you really need to have everyone rowing in the same direction, or they tend to shoot you down. It was definitely a lot more work than all of us thought it would be, because the state was really trying to naysay two cities working just out of gut instinct versus state law. Not getting the fact that there's our agencies that cover both jurisdictions, so that'd be a little crazy to have duplicative districts. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to stand out various initiatives in the arts, and then plus we'll begin some highway signage as well, because like if you drive through Olympia and even Chewelah, they put fairly large signs on the state highways saying like, hey, it's this way. So I'm seeing that I think it's going to drum up a significant amount of traffic even that way, where it'll feed our wayfinding signage system and stuff like that. Yeah.
Councilmember Jessup.
I have no doubt you guys will communicate this, but obviously I'm a little biased in this sense. But if there's any way to continue to partner with that Dream Lab at College Place High School, is some of the artwork that some of those kids come up with and the tools in which we have available, with the funds are available. And then we have quite a bit of experience now at this point of 8 or 9 years of using it. So just to pass along, I know something you guys are already thinking about, but
yeah,
I think that'd be a fantastic little example.
for sure.
That's a great tidbit. I attended a showcase last week and quite impressed with some of the things that the students came up with and the utilization of the Dream Lab that they used for their projects. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, Mike, we're going to move on to the Whitman Drive egress concept for the ELDA CP LLC development.
Hey, thank you. So this item went through Economic Development Commission and they approved it last night. So Sherry, if you could click on the first document to just go over the need for this, and then we'll go into the drawing itself. So there's a substantial development starting to really get some traction behind Home Depot. So a hotel with a convention center, and then in this attached document, because we want to go after grants to make this a reality. And I want to go into this because for the public that sees this, they'll be like, oh, there's other ways because I'm gonna get into it why we're in the situation we're in. But it's a substantial development with a hotel, some fast food pads, a grocer, a lot of other stuff. And you can see it's planned to be phased in over the next couple of years. The big issue here that is stymieing a lot of this is there needs to be like freight access for deliveries at night for this like hotel. And the hotel was like very hesitant to commit until we get this all ironed out. So Sherry, if you go to the next one document that has the roundabout. So initially, this hotel developer, they were willing at their own cost to build they wanted to build a right in and a right out further down Myra Road, south of Whitman Drive. And most of you know, but some may not, we don't own that part of Myra Road. So everything south of Rose, City of Walla Walla owns. So when I end up communicating that, they really didn't want to let that happen. I was like, well, there's a lot of stuff I don't exactly agree with either, but there's like code. So what's up with this? So we went through this whole process and it still landed on no. And this developer was to the point of, well, I need freight access. That's weird. So well, the whole thing was just really awkward. So where we've landed, where they said they could still make it work, is even without that right in, right out for freight. The big issue at that first entrance to human being, and right now there's like a pork chop, is take that out and replace it with a roundabout so that way the trucks could make the turn going south into that development. We own Whitman Drive, so other parties can't tell us to not do that. Now, the big issue here is naturally the cost of one treatment versus the other is a significant amount of money, because a right in, right out in a normal universe ends up being like about $100,000. You do a roundabout, it ends up being north of $1 million. And then it as you may have saw in the business development spreadsheet that I had is the addendum the last time. There's a domino effect of stuff that could happen with this development where you don't get the hotel, you don't get the big box. Then if the big box doesn't come, then the pads don't come, and then you're just up the creek at that point. So the general idea here is, since we have that letter that you saw from the developer, we want to go to Transportation Improvement Board to go get a grant to fund most of this. That is option one. I believe, in talking with TIB, this is going to score really good for their economic development band, so I have faith it'll make it. If for some reason something happened where it didn't make it, option two is technically we do have the ability to create a second tax increment financing district. And I believe maybe making a barbell one, if you will, where one side has this and then you connect Whitman and the other side, whatever happens with Martin Airfield, may be the way to go on this. But Economic Development Commission, they recommended approval of this concept, so did our Utilities and Transportation Advisory Commission. And I just want to get this out in the lexicon, because I know some comments I heard in public is like, well, that's weird. You all built Whitman Drive like 15 years ago and then you're retouching it. That's just weird. And well, hey, and that's what's driving it, because initially we were trying to have discussions about that right in, right out. At the end of the day, we don't own Myra Road, so what do you do at that point? And this is the option B.
Mike, I think it's great, because one of the things, yes, 15 years ago, but 15 years ago there, I don't think any of us were who we were 15 years ago, right? So why should our city be, right? Our city has changed, and the need of our community has changed, which is why it no longer works for us. And rather than twiddling our thumbs or shrugging our shoulders because our friends took their ball and left the sandbox, we're figuring out our own solutions for our own community, for our own economic development and benefit. So I think bringing these up, discussing them, and being creative in this way, I think is why we continue to be such a strong city and continue growing in the way we are, or building up. Not so much just growing, but building up on the community and becoming something that people just enjoy, even just driving through. And I am thankful that you're trying to find solutions to make sure to bring those type of businesses here, right? Again, the hotel, the restaurants, and we keep wanting a gas station somewhere,
Yeah.
right? You just never know, but it's going to take creative thought like this to make those happen. Questions from council, questions or comments from council members? Councilmember Peterson?
Mike, is Home Depot interested in this roundabout?
I mean, Home Depot isn't against it. We've talked with them. Trucks can make it. This is being designed so freight can move through it. That's why it's oversized.
No. Oh,
And then this initial design concept, we moved the traffic circle more so to the south to save on cost, because there's a significant Columbia REA power transformer in the ground right to the north. So if you touch it, that would probably double the cost of this project. So that's why we tried shifting this thing to the south.
I think any sort of bottleneck from the roundabout to the light. Would it increase, or would it create the chance of bottleneck between the roundabout and the light there on Myra when we have more traffic?
I have asked our engineer as far as Whitman Drive. From what I was told, the queuing distance was enough where they felt it wouldn't. I am going to be upfront that if this thing becomes reality, eventually there could be backups like on Myra Road, but I don't know what to say on that one because I try to approach them with a regular solution. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, we went back and forth with them a number of times.
Yeah.
Until, there's only so many times that somebody can say no to us, right? And
Yeah.
then finally say, no, our decision's made. So we had to come up with something else.
Yeah.
Hopefully people will learn to use roundabouts better and it won't be such a bad backup.
Yeah.
Councilmember Jessup?
Does this hinder us from having one there in the future if cooler heads prevail?
I mean, if cooler heads prevail, it really doesn't. It's just the various folks behind this hotel, because I met them when I was in Vegas. They wanted a guarantee that somehow deliveries were going to be in there. Thus, I needed to try to get ahead of it to make sure there was a viable solution, because otherwise they were just going to kill it and move on.
Right. So my question, I guess,
Yeah.
then is right there at Myra and Whitman.
Yeah.
I don't know how the engineering works, but
Yeah.
there's enough distance between
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
You kind of come around and say, no, we actually do need a Myra and Whitman roundabout. It is enough distance
Yeah,
to allow that in the future.
there is.
Great.
There is, but at least so we can keep this moving. This is what seemed for the developer be okay with. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I understand that roundabouts are generally optimal in a lot of ways for traffic flow and the like, and reducing wait times. Why go for a roundabout over a more traditional intersection there? It has to have freight access, but what is limiting from using a more traditional intersection?
It was just really the angle of the road and the queuing. We had our on-call engineer look into that, and they felt for the traffic moving in and out, that was the most optimal way of doing it without causing backups from the get-go. So that's what essentially we went with at that juncture. Just because if you have a full-fledged hotel and stuff going in there, and then the Myra Whitman thing, you can't do the right thing right out. If you're having a conventional intersection, even if you did stop signs, you could have backups coming out of that. If you do a stoplight, that's way too close. And then not just that, but even though initially roundabouts cost more, your maintenance costs on them, if you were to amortize it out, is about $5,000 a year. Your cost on traffic lights, because you actually have to have someone who has the certification to calibrate it, it ends up being over $50,000 a year just on O&M on a regular light. So it's insane, the amount of yearly costs, folks in cities bury into that just because historically that's been the tradition.
I have a random question. This could be 10 steps ahead, but we just did the art district.
Yeah.
Is there like in the future some sort of collaboration where like a part of the art district could be doing some sort of art within the middle of these
I feel so.
working
Yeah.
working like with where there's refinery or whatever, some sort of College Place historical district. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I feel there is. I mean, the next project's going to go into another roundabout, although this one's a lot longer term out. But the State Department of Transportation, going back to my whole comment about the annual operation and maintenance costs, this is what they're moving towards really on all the signalized intersections. Because as a state government, I mean, yeah, the tradition is the stoplights, but it's also way more money too, year in, year out. So I think there's going to be movement for the whole 9th State Route 125 corridor and even eventually Myra, because once the state does fix up 9th, I do know the eventual goal is to move that 125 designation over to Myra. That's what they've expressed in the far future.
Councilmember Boyle?
So I have two questions.
Yeah.
The first one, and I might have completely missed this when you were talking, so if so, I apologize. So the developer initially said that when they were hoping for a right-in, right-out,
Yeah.
that they were willing to foot the bill
Yeah.
for that. Are they still willing to put in that $100,000 to the roundabout?
Yeah, they would still be willing to. Where they were saying, where they were backing up was like, hey, we want to spend 100. We weren't
Not $1 million.
going to go over $1 million
Oh, but
bucks.
they're
So,
still chipping in. And
Yeah.
then my other question was, if we move forward with this roundabout, are we confident that Home Depot is going to be a good partner to Human Bean and letting them use their parking lot space for access during that construction? Because
Yeah.
Human Bean there's no access in there during construction.
Well, we will need to have further discussions with them on that. Literally, this was like a dumpster fire of a deal I was trying to save because they wanted to meet in
fair.
Vegas and wanted an answer. So,
But you
Yeah.
know what, Councilmember Boyle, that's an important thing for us to remember,
Yeah.
keep at the forefront of our mind, to remember this small business that's going to be impacted by these
Because
decisions.
they will be
Yeah.
heavily
Yeah.
impacted by that.
Yeah. You know, I also want to recognize the fact that we thought our biggest barrier was going to be with the landowner.
yeah.
Right, we had been working for a long time with the landowner to try to finally get something put in there, because everybody's always, behind Home Depot would be a great place, right? It's free. And we thought that finally we get the landowner on board
Yeah.
and willing and anxious, and then we run into this other barrier, right, of the right in, right out. So, it's just one of those things that we have to try to pivot and think quickly in order to save a project that we've been working on for so long, thinking that one thing was going to be our biggest barrier, and it turns out something else turned out to be it. So thank you, Mike. Any other questions or comments? And you're right, I think we could, paint a big sunflower around that traffic circle or something, right?
I have one that I don't want to ask. So if we put this roundabout in, could our friends over in Walla Walla just say, actually, we don't want access to Whitman Drive anymore off of Myra if they own that?
No, luckily I investigated, there was an access agreement for Whitman Drive, so we're protected there, luckily.
Important question.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
No, I was thinking of. that.
Yeah, no, that avoids surprises, right? Unexpected surprises, so. Any other questions, comments regarding this? All right, thank you, Mike. Let's move on to the early design concept for State Route 125 and College Avenue Ofty.
Thank you. So with this item, this one has a much longer lead time, but it's just weird the way the state does their various funding programs. So they have a freight mobility State Freight Mobility Board. And the way they slate projects is if you want any of their funding, you have to basically submit to their list, and it's for a 12-year period. So if you miss this deadline, then you basically can't really be considered. So hearing that, we need to come up with a concept, because here's the deal of what's going on. So as you all know, we've been working with the Lakeside people and the McKiernan property, getting residential, getting commercial, getting that primed up. And then late last year, there was the annexation of what was called formerly the Bobby Smith property that's now owned by Charlie Conan. And the issue, so Mr. Conan is wanting to develop like Ofty Lane, where it's like a normal paved road that would go to the school district property far to the west. And the issue being is that with the way state highways work, we don't own 125. State of Washington owns 125. And if you want to do additional accesses or things like that, as I mentioned earlier, their de facto default treatment is some sort of roundabout, if you will. And JUB developed this because you have a couple of concepts here you're having to deal with. Naturally, safely conveying traffic from College Avenue, but then also providing access to Ofty, since that would go further to the west. And then, as you may all remember from long ago, our goal, and as we're working through the countywide planning policies, as we do grow, we do eventually at some point want to try to get that area from between State Route 125 and Peppers Bridge to be in our urban growth area at some point. And that's especially going to become more important because as you drive out there, it's out in the county right now. Liberty Christian, they're getting their building, and Christ Community Fellowship's building their building. So a lot of traffic going back and forth. So this was an initial concept that JUB developed. So you're getting your access to Ofty, you're getting your access to College, and then you're still having 125 going through. Not that this would happen anytime soon, but it's just trying to get these outside dollars, and then also trying to get WSDOT to allow Ofty to link into it. We needed to get on that list. So that's why we try to develop a concept. Utilities Board, they recommended this, as did Economic Development Commission. They looked at this last couple months. As I said, this is a very early conceptual thing, but we're just trying to make sure that there's safe multimodal access, but then also trying to get various accesses into the newer parts of town and still have it link up to State Route 125. I would mention that the state has a longer term goal of converting everything to roundabout concepts. The big issue here is essentially if we were to just twiddle our thumbs and not put this in, they wouldn't allow Ofty Lane to link into 125. They've communicated that. So then we would just be at the impasse until whatever day they decide to do something, and that would kill that part of the development. So we're just trying to get out ahead of it, and this is very early level stuff, but I at least want to make sure you have awareness. If there's concerns, let me know. We're just trying to get on a list.
Thank you, Mike. Questions or comments from council members?
I'm sure we asked because everybody I've ever even thought about this is widely enthusiastic about this concept, just because of safety. I know it's early on, so state have an indication of time frame at all?
So with the Freight Mobility Board, I did get some initial inclinations that they would consider bumping this up for funding probably within the next like 5 years, which is a pretty good time frame. And if we have that can count as essentially match where we could go after congressional directed spending. And then also Mr. Conan, he's putting money into the game in this as well. So again, we're just trying to get this bumped up, because if we wait for the whole corridor, we could be waiting decades for that one and could completely roach getting off the lane put in. And that's really needed because yeah, we have that east-west road as part of the lakeside development. But really, if you're going to put intermediate school back there, you probably should have multiple accesses and such, and not just have folks stuck back there. So more accesses is better, especially to a state highway. And if we do something like this, I will say for one of our listings on the business list, one of the bigger boxes we've been trying to get, they're very intrigued with this whole off-D thing because it provides fascinating frontage for them. So.
And I will make mention again, if we put a statue in the middle of the roundabouts, that may perhaps deter some younger drivers from going over the top and or semis. So just throw that out there once more.
Yep.
I'm happy to pose with my mother look. Put it in bronze. Councilmember Cleveland?
Yeah, it looks like an interesting concept here. I was kind of wondering though about the access on the kind of the west side of College Avenue, just up of that second roundabout, the smaller one.
Yeah.
Because it looks like there's a few driveways there, and then with the concept, it looks like you have a sidewalk that goes right in front of that. So how are we accommodating for that for access for those houses?
Yeah, so potentially a little bit of the driveway frontage either up north or up south of the roundabout and backtracking back in. So I mean, that is a potential concept they're looking at. Also potentially poking in access from that property goes along off D lane and then backtracking to those homes as well. So that's some initial concepts that have been discussed.
So they might have an alternate route, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I was also going to ask about kind of access on the east side, not south, where there's that kind of that Y with McMinn Road.
Yeah.
And would that be able for people to be going east and then turn left for those first two houses there, just south or just east of that bigger roundabout? Or would that be like you have to approach from the other direction?
No, there likely would be like a little curved driveway where you could still get into those other houses. It's just, at least according to the traffic manuals, because I thought the little curve thing was a little weird, but apparently that's like how you slow traffic going into a roundabout. So that's like some state manual that engineers follow apparently. So that's what you see there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council members, questions, comments? Councilmember Peterson?
You know, roundabouts, we're talking about roundabouts with, I guess, Larch and 12th. Is there an update on that? I think if there's a need of a roundabout and anything we've talked about this evening, that's probably it. But I know it doesn't fall in some of the funding probably categories or whatnot. What are your thoughts on that?
It does, and you'll actually be seeing a resolution supporting that probably in July. So because as you know, we've been trying to go after 12th Street as a corridor because of the high dollar value and just that there's not a lot of commerce on it. I think we'll get there eventually with the congressional directed spending, but with everything else going on right now, it hasn't really percolated to the top. So we've actually re-envisioned how we're going to approach that. Transportation Improvement Board, they love funding roundabouts essentially. That's one of their top things. And what we are going to do is, as you know, that study that was done like 6 years ago said that the warrants, traffic warrants that would hit by this year would trigger it, and that those warrants have been met. So the idea is to turn in a grant application, a Transportation Improvement Board this summer, where essentially it would fund 90% of turning that into a roundabout, and then fix up at least have a start of a road treatment on 12th where you fix up to Dewey on the east side and then up to Sky on the west side, and then on Larch going down to Dewey and the Marine Garrison area. And what that would allow is you're dealing with the intersection intersection, but then you're really setting the stage for what the other phases could look like. And we believe that would position us for successful grant applications if we're having to do this a piecemeal route. So that's the idea, to now tackle that intersection first and then go out. That's the plan of attack. And then if we end up, we have put in for quite a bit of other funding buckets. So when they become reality, then Peachy will recalibrate. But at least at this point in time, the idea, since apparently they just want to fund roundabouts, is okay, then go deal with that one. So
Thanks, Mike.
You know, Mike, I hear that you're a little shaky on the concept, and that, not that you don't have confidence, but you're worried about what others are gonna think. But, and I know this is very early concept, but you know, I think it would be a shame if we didn't start thinking ahead, right? And if we missed an opportunity
Yeah.
for some significant funding. So I know this might be a crazy idea, or, you know, it's not, you know, and I think it's great that we're trying to make sure that we get the funding opportunity now, because again, 12 years, right?
Yeah.
Or, it would be a huge, significant shame and a failure on our part if we didn't get something in. So thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right, let me get onto my. Okay, so let's see. Oh, well, look at that. Okay, so we are at the end of our workshop. Is there any other business for good of the order? All right, hearing none, then I now conclude the meeting at 6:31 PM. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.